In early years, the shrill whistle of the steam trains called through the Denison Gorge. Later on, it was the loud horns of the diesel locomotives. Then there was silence. On October 1st, 2004, operator Pacific National Tasmania permanently curtailed rail service on the historic North East Line. The line has gradually decayed since and has not withstood the test of time. Sections of rail have been ripped up to create the highly controversial North East Rail Trail, and the remainder of the line has been left to rot. Hi, I'm Tasmanian, and this is What Happened to the North East Line. Unlike most of my videos, I'm going to skim over the history of the line so we can look at the present day situation. The first section of the North East Line was opened in 1889 between Launceston and Scottsdale, the most interesting feature being a tunnel between Lilydale and L&NER. Several decades passed until in 1909 work started on an extension over the Billycock Hill to Branxholme. This line was very steep and windy but got the job done. Finally, in 1919, the line was extended to its greatest length, Herrick. This was a 13-mile extension which provided the furthest the line ever got. The primary attractors on the line, besides local traffic, was the scenery that was popular with tourists, particularly in the Denison Gorge. The line between Winnaleah and Herrick closed in 1978 but reopened in 1982 for log traffic. The line between Herrick and Tongana fully closed in 1994. In 1998, the whole line closed, but reopened in 1999 for log traffic at Tongana. In 2004, the last train ran on the line. In 2012, the closed section between Tullandina and Tongana became Stage 1 of the North East Rail Trail. Stage 2 opened in 2015, comprising of the line between Tongana and Scottsdale. As of 2025, rails remain in place over the rest of the line, though in some sections they're being preserved. More on that later. In 2011, Diesel Traction Tasmania was formed. They acquired two Z-Class diesel locomotives from Tasrail and needed to find a site for them. After failing to acquire a site at Inverask, their sights were set on the North East Line. In 2016, they decided and rebranded as the Launceston and North East Railway. They acquired a site at the former Tabuka station, later moving to the former Turners Marsh siding, where they are aiming to begin railbug operations from later this year. They have acquired the track between Turners Marsh and Lilydale and are working on clearing and maintaining this track, a mammoth task. They are Tasmania's newest heritage railway and are determined to commence operation shortly. They have also acquired various heritage diesel locomotives for future restoration as museum exhibits or operational rolling stock. This proposal is currently at odds with proponents of the North East Rail Trail is a partially completed rail trail linking Scottsdale to Tullandina. The route runs through some of the steepest and windiest terrain on the line, an interesting choice for a bike path. This is a highly scenic path for cyclists and walkers alike. However, there's a massive problem: ambition. The Dorset Council has been using a broken system to develop a rail trail, ignoring the potential benefits of rail travel, and instead laying everything out as if there was nothing in the way of their proposal. Before some of you coming into my comments to complain, I completely support the rail trail extending east beyond Scottsdale. However, the section west has many attractors for rail travel that a rail trail cannot offer. The process of developing this trail is insane, considering Dorset Council taxpayers are paying for infrastructure in the Launceston City Council, and to add to this, the Dorset Council is submitting its request to itself. This is absurd, meaning the council has all control over constructing the route and does not have to face scrutiny. This has gotten to the point that in 2023, a parliamentary inquiry into serious allegations of systematic and widespread statutory non-compliance and failings of good governance at the Dorset Council. These have clearly carried over to the rail dilemma, with the council clearly cutting corners when developing the rail trail. The leadership of the Dorset Council was removed in 2023, with a temporary government-appointed caretaker in place since. Turning to the rail trail issue and factoring in these issues as well as the massive costs associated with fixing the Tunnel, Leotina Trestle Bridge, and the various smaller bridges along the way. An important thing to note with the rail trail is that it offers no connections for cyclists or pedestrians crossing roads, a big problem when it comes to crossing major highways. In 2025, it is very unclear who will emerge victorious in the northeast, but a compromise situation seems likely. The L&NER is meant to get permission to run between Coldwater Creek Junction and Lilydale, while the rail trail will extend from Scottsdale through to Lilydale Falls with a shared on-road path linking the falls to town. This is a fairly poor compromise as the railway would not have access to two of its most important attractions, the tunnel at Tunnel and the Denison Gorge. This means that a railway would have less success if some of the most interesting parts of the line aren't turned into a bike path, which, as we've seen from the existing rail trail, aren't in great condition. The railway proposal is still going strong, with opening expected later this year for railbug operations commencing between Turners Marsh and Waddles Road, Karula. This would be to raise funds for a future full rail operation on the line. This is an amazing tourist and heritage operation that should not be left untouched. This brings me to the end of this video explaining the current situation in the North East Line. Please consider liking and subscribing to help more people know about this dilemma. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time on Tasmanian.